Marcus speaks. Marcus speaks.
What up? What's happening? Um, I'm late. I know. Um, I was doing some shopping and shit got out of hand, so I'm here now. And sorry for the delay by an hour and 27 minutes. So I apologize. 26 minutes. So without further ado, and like I usually like to when I get into my flow, let me find my stuff that I need and we can start the show. Let's start the show. Okay, so everybody, first things first, like I usually do, fair use, because I usually have videos and stuff that play with my videos. Okay, so fair use is federal law. Fair use, it's the law. So fair use, federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe on copyright holders under 17 USC 107. So I had to get that out the way real fast. Because of me, I like playing videos to further my points of what I say in my show. So, I don't want to get shit fucked up or misconstrued with Facebook or YouTube. So, Facebook or YouTube, if you're watching, I did my due diligence and what I had to do. So, if there's anybody watching right now from either Facebook or YouTube, I am streaming from Restream. If you see right there in the right hand corner, I'm streaming live from Restream right now to Facebook and YouTube, into YouTube. And I would like to thank y'all for coming. I know y'all probably was wondering where I was, but if not, the hell with you. But if so, I'm here now. So, today's topic, as you can see with this picture. Today's live. I'm sorry. There's a lot of shit going through my mind right now that I'm thinking of right now when it comes to this live. So let me calm down real fast. Let me woo-sigh. All right. So I am covering today the final week of the Derek Chauvin case or trial and the verdict. I'm gonna cover and everything that has to do with that. So, um, with today's topic, uh, I'm gonna share with y'all my personal feelings about some things. So if y'all feel some type of way about anything that I say today, don't take it personal. It's just how I feel. Okay. So, um, let me do this real fast. So you had the closing arguments on Monday, the 19th. Okay. It was done by these two men that y'all see in the picture right now. The attorney on the left, that is Steve Schiller, and the attorney you see on the right is Derek Chauvin's defense attorney, Eric Nelson. Okay, so they delivered Monday's closing arguments. Okay, and the leading attorney, Stephen Schiller, started his closing arguments basically with the intent of basically just outlining and tracing everything that we've heard over the course of the past 3 weeks with all of the videotape evidence that we saw, the toxicology reports. If y'all see me looking at, I'm looking at my sheet here, so sorry. Uh, Toxicology examinations, the pulmonary reports, and the firsthand knowledge from use of force experts and the paramedics and stuff that hit the witness stand. So also you had like police chiefs and use of force instructors and active commanding officers that were working tonight. That Derek Chauvin did his heinous act to Mr. George Floyd. So, um, they had basically this to say, um, and if you could, um, it was this gentleman that you guys should know by now is Steve Schiller, who gave his points on the with the closing arguments with all everything that I just outlined with all the evidence that was listed. So if I could bring this shit up. Hold on. I gotta find I gotta bring it all the way up. Okay, there we go. So this was the opening arguments for the prosecuting attorney's office, the state prosecuting attorney's office, that we were talking about. I can play that while this is playing. I'll just turn it down a little bit. So this is what he had to point out and what he basically told the jury when it came to the closing arguments of the state prosecutors. So here we go.
Was George Perry Floyd Jr., and he was born on October 14, 1973, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. His parents, George Floyd Sr., Larcinia Jones Floyd, Sissy, the matriarch. You met George Floyd's brother, Alonis, and you heard all about Sissy Floyd. She was George Floyd's mom. She was the mom of the house. She was the mom of the neighborhood. And you heard about the special bond that she and...
Now, I won't play all of this because the YouTube channel that I've been using these past few weeks, the Star Tribune, they don't have like key points chopped up. So this video is about an hour and 30, but I'm only going to play probably like maybe 5 or maybe 6 minutes of it, okay? So I'll let it keep playing.
George Floyd shared during his life. You heard about their relationship, how he would always take time, special attention to be with his mother, how he would still cuddle with her in the fetal position. You heard that. And from George Floyd's brother, you learned all about George's childhood. And during his time growing up in that house, George Floyd was surrounded by people he knew, people who knew him, people he recognized. A familiar face to pick out in the crowd. People need that. George Floyd was surrounded by people who cared about and who cared about him throughout his childhood, throughout his adolescence, into his adulthood. On May 25, 2020, George Floyd died. Face down on the pavement, right on 38th in Chicago, Minneapolis. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. During this time, George Floyd struggled, desperate to breathe, to make enough room in his chest to breathe. But the force was too much. He was trapped. He was trapped with the unyielding pavement underneath him, as unyielding as the men who held him down, pushing him. The knee to the neck, the knee to the back, twisting his fingers, holding his legs for 9 minutes.
Alright, so how long has this been on? 3 minutes? I'll let it go for another 2 more minutes.
29 seconds, the defense weight on him. The lungs in his chest unable to expand because there wasn't enough room to breathe. George Floyd tried. He pushed his bare shoulder against the pavement to lift himself, to give his chest, to give his lungs enough room in his chest to breathe. The pavement tearing into his bare skin. As he desperately pushed with his knuckles to make space, to leave room to breathe, the pavement lacerated his knuckles. The defense stayed on top for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, so desperate to breathe, he pushed with his face. To lift himself, to open his chest, to give his lungs room to breathe. The pavement tearing into the skin, George Floyd losing strength. Not superhuman strength. There was no superhuman strength that day. There's no superhuman strength because there's no such thing as a superhuman. Those exist in comic books. The 38th in Chicago is a very real place. Not superhumans. Only humans. Just a human, just a man, lying on the pavement, being pressed upon, desperately crying out. A grown man crying out for his mother. human being. And in that time, and in that place, while he was surrounded in life by people he knew him, faces he could pick out, there was no one there he knew. He was surrounded by strangers. Strangers, all of them. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He's surrounded by strangers, not a familiar face to say his final words. But he did say them to someone. He said them to someone who he did not know by name, but he knew him in the uniform he wore and the badge he wore. And he called him Mr. Officer.
All right, I'll stop it there. So, basically, with the rest of that, he was outlining he was just basically talking about Derek Chauvin's actions outside of procedure of what he did to George Floyd. So, George Floyd's death could have been prevented if the 4 officers that were involved, Derek Chauvin, Thomas Lane, J. Alexander King, and Officer Tutal, if they would have given him time, like George asked, because he said he was claustrophobic. So with him being claustrophobic now, the defense may go against that and say, well, there's no medical history of him having any claustrophobic issues, so why would it, say anything with him being locked up? He's been locked up before, so why was it, why would it be like that? But that's not the case of which could have happened. Now, they wasn't going off of speculation. It was only going off of the evidence that was presented. But there is a crisis procedure in the Minneapolis, Minnesota's police handbook that basically states if there's a person in crisis, how they're supposed to treat that person while they're going in a crisis. They could see that when George Floyd spoke on how he was claustrophobic, which is a crisis at that time when he's being put in the car, he said that he wanted to count to 3 and then get himself into the car. He was working himself up to it, in which Steve says this in his closing arguments. So, while all of that was happening, George Floyd was complying with every order that Thomas Lane gave him. So Thomas Lane asked him to put his hands behind his back. He did so. Thomas Lane asked him to sit down across the street at Dragon Walk. He did so. Thomas Lane asked him to get up. He walked with him next to Cup Foods. At Cup Foods, Thomas Lane asked him to sit down. George sat down. So George was complying the whole time while he was being detained. So Stephen brought up that not only did George die from a pulmonary heart condition when he was being under arrest, when Derek Chauvin's knee was on his shoulder next to his neck, but causing blockage into his neck, that during his lack of blood getting to his brain into his heart, due to Derek Chauvin's, his knee holding his neck hold from his knee, but with that, Steve put in there where he was basically going at the evidence of which Eric Nelson presented. his claims of a drug overdose, which in toxicology reports, when I reported on that, I think it was Doctor, I can't remember his name, but it was the guy that I spoke on that had the black hair that I said whose uh, his witness stand testimony was brilliant. I think it was in my first episode, my first episode when it came to the trial. So you with him saying that the doctor, if I can find it here, but he said that George only had with the so-called drugs of which Eric Nelson tried to present of from George Floyd having in his system. It was only 5 nanometers to every liter of fentanyl in George's blood, which is minuscule. So Steve also went at the excited delirium statement that Eric made in the within the of George Floyd life being ended by Derek Chauvin. He also proved that is false as well in his closing arguments. Uh, but also he dismantled the use of force claims that Eric also presented in his evidence that Derek followed, which he didn't. Steve said that he did not only go out of procedure, he took the life of George Floyd because he purposely killed him for what he thought was non-compliance. That's the reason why George Floyd died at the hands of Derek Chauvin, because of the lack of compliance that Derek thought that George was given to Thomas Lane and to King. So this guy then hops on the stage. Well, not the stage, but to the podium. He his testimony ran for almost 3 hours. His testimony ran for 3 hours. Like with that one, I'm only gonna let it run for 5 to 6 minutes. I'm not gonna put y'all through the entire thing because he also brought up, which is funny as hell. He put in there. He was talking about all kinds of shit in his statement, his closing argument. He basically was talking about aliens and horses and all kinds of shit. I'm I'm going off the top of my head right now on what he was talking about, but it was certain points that he was trying to make where he put like the aliens and shit like that. It was ridiculous to say the least, and he was trying to say within all of that that the claims of the prosecuting attorneys that they were trying to make against him with the charges made was wrong and whatever. But we all know, we saw the video, the whole world saw the video. You cannot tell somebody who brought hours of video evidence. They put up 3 uh, doctors that's in the field of those types of like DNA forensics and stuff like that, toxicology, pulmonary doctors and stuff like that, that deal with use of causes of death or whatever. And the guy that I was talking about, let me look in my old notes of what his name was. That's not him, I don't think. No, that's not him. What's his name? That's not him. Damn it, I don't have his name. Okay. I don't have his name I don't know it off the top of my head. But he brought up the main thing that Eric was bringing up was the doctor that he brought in, which was Dr. Fowler. Y'all remember me showing Dr. Fowler's picture in his testimony last week. If you don't, go to the last video once this live is done and watch that part. Okay? So, Eric Nelson, Derek Chauvin's attorney, opened up with his closing arguments with the presumption of innocence, and it outlines this. The defendant is presumed innocent of the charges made. The presumption remains with the defendant unless and until he has been proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proven guilt is on the state. The defendant does not have to prove his innocence. So he basically is expounded on that. And not only that did he expound on, he also brought up that his argument that the concept of reasonable force, he then defies what the concept of reasonable force is. It also brings up in the text of what he states of what the reason of force is and when to commit, and when committed by a reasonable officer. He then brings up that along the text in the procedure during use of force, the steps he must take, a reasonable officer must take, and to skillfully and procedurally use to perform and execute professionally without harm to the officer and to the assailant. Which, to me, if y'all remember seeing that video, what do y'all think? Do you think he presented or he did any sort of any sort of type of like he not presented, but do you think he used his use of force procedure through procedure? Because it didn't look like it. Now, we may be speculating, as spectators do, from what we saw, but we knew just by sight that that particular neck hold or that particular use of force wasn't something that was supposed to be done to somebody. Now, call me somebody that doesn't know shit about law at all. Which in a way, I don't, but in a way I do. But lawfully, why does Eric Nelson within his statements, and I know, he's a lawyer and he's a defense attorney, he's supposed to defend his client at all costs because that's what he's being paid for. But why would he try to bring up, knowing with him trying to sway the jury of what they already saw? They said in their jury statements that they already saw. They said it during during jury selection that they saw the video, and they don't hold any biases when it comes to them seeing the video, so it wouldn't affect their decision making when it came to deliberation. Fine, but we all saw the video. The jury saw the video, and from what we already know, and I'll play the verdict. Why does Eric, in his statement, really feel what he was saying would sway the jury at all? Like, at no time at all did this man, and I don't even really think he saw the video. If he did, then whatever. He saw what he saw for court. But with me not going on a rant, I'll let you hear from him yourself. So I should turn this down a little bit so y'all can hear what he has to say. So here we go.
I'm going to apologize if I get a little long-winded, because I get one bite at the apple here. The state has an opportunity to rebut my statement after this. There's so very much we need to cover. There's so very much we need to talk about, and it is all important. Before I begin my review of the evidence in this case, I would like to address two very crucial points of law, and they were touched on by the state. The presumption of innocence and what proof beyond a reasonable doubt means. The presumption of innocence, the defendant is presumed innocent. That's the starting point. He's presumed innocent of these charges. And this presumption remains with him throughout the course of the trial, the presentation of the evidence, throughout the course of your deliberations, until and unless the state has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant does not have to prove his innocence. We talked about this in jury selection. We talked about the starting point. The defendant doesn't have to try to catch up. He starts at the presumption of innocence. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's the definition that the judge just read you. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is such proof as ordinary prudent men and women would act upon in their most important affairs. A reasonable doubt is a doubt that is based upon reason and common sense. It does not mean a fanciful or capricious doubt, nor does it mean beyond all possibility of doubt. The law recognizes three standards of proof. The preponderance of the evidence is the first and lowest standard. Clear and convincing evidence is the next standard. And the third standard is proof beyond. Nor does it mean beyond. And the way we lawyers sometimes illustrate what these three standards mean is through the scales of justice, right? The scales of justice equally balanced. When you apply the standard of the preponderance of the evidence, it's also called the scintilla of the evidence. A single grain of sand tips the scales in the favor of one party or the other. And this burden of proof is used in many civil cases. If the state wants to take away your driver's license, for an example, that is the burden of proof that the state has in that type of a case. They have to just ever so slightly convince the finder of fact that their evidence supports their action. The next standard is clear and convincing evidence. And that's pretty self-explanatory, right? It is clear evidence, and it convinces you, the finder of fact, that the action is correct. This is the standard of proof that is used if the state wants to take away your children. Clear and convincing evidence. It tips the scales more in the favor of one party over the other. The highest standard in this country is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Essentially, what the state has to convince you is that the evidence in this case completely eliminates any reasonable doubt. Or in other words, leaving only unreasonable doubt. Capricious, fanciful. Capricious doubt. Capricious means unpredictable. Fanciful. Space aliens flew in, inhabited the body of Derek Chauvin.
That was the space alien point he tried to bring up. Now listen to this shit.
And caused this death. That's fanciful. Beyond reasonable doubt. It is the highest standard in the law. Doesn't mean beyond all possibility of doubt, because I suppose space aliens may have been inhabiting his body, but that's obviously fanciful and capricious. So these two standards, the presumption of innocence and proof beyond a reasonable doubt, work in concert with each other. You start with the proposition that Mr. Chauvin is innocent of these charges. The state has to advance substantial evidence to convince you that the only doubts that are remaining are unreasonable doubts. As you analyze the evidence in this case, you would simply have to find that any defense that has been advanced is unreasonable. That's what this standard is all about. I want to take this opportunity also to talk to you about the importance of reading the entire instruction. Because I've seen, and lawyers, and I'm going to do it too, right? We pick and choose those things that help us make our case and help us argue our case. That's our job as lawyers, is to point out words and phrases within the instructions that make a difference in the case, and to take that evidence and present it to you in such a way that it supports our proposition. That's what we do. That's why you are instructed that if your memories of the evidence is different, that if the judge's law is what applies. But take the time to carefully read the entire instructions.
All right, I'll stop it there. Because he goes on, right, with his whole arguments, okay? He goes into the use of the uses of evidence of Derek Chauvin's body camera, and I think I have that video. I think let me turn the TV off first, and then let me try and find it for y'all. No, I do not have that, but Derek, not Derek, but Eric. I'm sorry, I said Derek. So so he used the evidence of Derek Chauvin's body camera to justify that his observation of the scene. It was basically when Derek Chauvin and Tutal came to the scene to assist King and Lane. So the whole time he just further assesses his use of force techniques that I guess that he needed to do to George in order to have him comply. So pain compliance and whatever. Which which for me, I should have brought up. I should have brought up the picture that I saw yesterday of the elevation of uses of force or whatever. I think I can still do that. So let me see if I can do that. Let me go to Google. Go to Google and type in use of force. Yes, use of force continuum. Let me see if they got that. Where's the one that? There it goes, right there. Let me see if I can make this larger. All right. So this is what I'm gonna do. I want to share this with you guys. Let me bring this over into view. Mm, there it goes. It's not pretty, but there it goes. Hold on. I done took it at okay. No, stay where you at. Alright, so um no, I need to see the actual picture. So how can I bring this up? Bring it up in a new tab. So I can get rid of that. And okay, I hope y'all can see this. Okay, so with the use of force that they used, there's damn, I can't even see that. I need glasses. All right. So there is on one side, on the left side is what the officer sees and what the officer should do with each elevated use of force continuum measure. So the measure that they used on George is in the green. Resistance passive. Okay. So that has in there pain compliance, takedowns, or chemical agents. So if y'all remember the video I showed last week of Second Lieutenant Karan Nazario, for some reason the situation elevated to passive resistance. It wasn't that Lieutenant Nazario was resisting arrest. You asked him to do one thing, then you asked him to do another. You told him put your hands outside the car. Then you asked Lieutenant Nazario to get out of the car. It's either you want me to do one of two things. You either want me to put my hands outside of my car, or you want me to get out of the car. You got to choose because I can't do both. Because we don't know what would have happened to Lieutenant Nazario if he would have put his hands back inside of his car. So that's where the chemical agent thing went in because he was resisting arrest. So what they did was the pain compliance. They twisted his wrists and twisted George Floyd's wrists and fingers, and they also put him in the hobble, which has had to be um which has to be called into an active uh, on duty commanding officer. So, which I don't even think they called that shit in. So, yeah. Um. So the hobble technique. It's one person's on each portion of the body to control it, basically. So you had Derek Chauvin smack dab around his neck and upper back area, so his head to lower back area. Then you had Thomas Lane, or was it King, that was around his torso to butt area. So that's another pain compliance part. So they had, their hands or knees on him to comply. Also twisting. Well, I think Derek Chauvin was twisting his wrists and fingers and stuff. So then you had Lane that was around his legs and his feet, basically bending the feet or the ankles towards the butt. Excuse me, so he could further comply because that's an uncomfortable position to be in. Basically, hog tying him in a way. So, to further my point, Eric Nelson tells the jury, compare the evidence, what you heard, compare the evidence against itself, test it, challenge it. So, with him saying that, there was countless hours of video evidence, countless hours that was presented in this case, not only on the state prosecuting attorney side, but Eric Nelson brought his own video evidence to compare to the state attorney side. But if y'all remember watching any of his stuff, if you guys watched the trial at all, you could see that Eric Nelson's video evidence that he presented wasn't as good as the state prosecuting attorney's office and what they presented. So each piece of the evidence that Eric showed was basically on the point of him trying to convince us that in the jury that what we thought we saw we did not see, which is stupid within itself. But what I don't understand and what further got presented in the closing arguments was that Eric Nelson proved to us that Derek Chauvin did the crime that he committed, and every charge that he that's been placed onto Derek Chauvin was true beyond a reasonable doubt, and there was no it was no getting around it. Basically, it's like telling a sick kid that he's sick, but the sick kid already knows that he's sick. It's like, we know, okay, we know. So, so he brought up toxicology results, which we all know that, but George Floyd wasn't under the influence of any drugs, and the toxicology results showed that he wasn't underneath of any sort of influence of drugs. Hence, 5 nanograms of fentanyl in his blood per liter, and I think in the methamphetamine thing got brought up, but every doctor stated that they found no evidence or no traces of methamphetamine in his blood. So Derek Chauvin's attorney, Eric Nelson, his argument basically falls on its face, because there's toxicology report results stating that he wasn't under the influence. Then you have the pulmonary results that came out that basically says that his heart He suffered agnostic agnostic seizure under the use of force of what Derek Chauvin placed on him, which is a fact. But it's like, what else do you have to say? Because I was watching that whole 2 hour, I think it's 2 hours and 47 minutes of him speaking, which the judge had to stop him so they can take a 30 minute recess break for lunch. And then he came back, which I can say in a way it wasn't fair for the judge to do that. But you had the prosecuting side who finished their statement under 2 hours. Then you have his that almost reached 3. So it's like, why are you keeping the jury there any longer than what the prosecutors did if your closing arguments has hearsay and foolishness in it? Excuse me. So, yeah, so we all know the prosecuting attorneys destroyed that. That's what I was looking at here on my docket. So, I want to place y'all's attention to these guys. I want you guys to look at them because what everybody wants to know is what's going to happen to all the officers that were involved, which you have King there on the right, you have Lane there in the middle, and then you have Tutel there on, no, I'm sorry. King is on the left, Lane is in the middle, and Officer Tutel, or former Officer Tutel, former Officer Lane and King, are what's going to happen in their trial. From what I understand, that they're going on a aiding and abetting charge and manslaughter. That's what their charges are. I don't think they're going to try him for murder because they weren't the actual person who placed their knee on George Floyd's neck. So, their trial is set for August. I'm not sure if they're going to be, if their trial is going to be all together or if it's going to be separate. So, but their trial is set in August. And there's been any official notice that it's going to be aired on TV at all. So we don't know with these guys if their trial will be on TV, if we'll be able to see it like Derek Chauvin's trial. And we don't know at all when it comes to we don't know what's going to be the outcome of that unless we either read newspapers or watch something on the news or YouTube or Facebook, social medias or whatever. So Derek Chauvin's face throughout the whole entire verdict was something to watch because this man's face this man's face looked like the whole world let him down. This motherfucker looked like the whole world let him down. And he didn't know how to react to the charges. And it's like, yo, how did you not know that you was going to be convicted of all 3 charges? Now, I'll let the judge go on with what he has to say with that.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1, court file number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions
So
and to advise you further. So,
he's basically just
all right.
advising them to, go back to their place where they've been the room that they've been held at for the past 4 weeks almost. And then he goes over
You seated?
the appeal
With the
process,
guilty verdicts returned,
and I'll
we're
get
gonna
into
have,
that. And he gets into
Blakely
the conviction
file a,
process, which I'll get into that as
written
well.
argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings. 1 week after that, we'll order a PSI immediately, returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state? Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Essex County Sheriff. Anything further? All right, thank you.
Or he gets cuffed up, and he gets, takes that long ride to the state prison, and that's it. So, what I'll do, I will go over his charges with you guys, okay? So, his charges are before I do that, Eric will try to appeal 1, if not 2, of the 3 charges. And here are the charges. Second-degree murder, unintentionally while committing a felony. Third-degree murder, perpetuating admittedly dangerous act and evincing depraved mind. And second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating unreasonable risk, and likely the manslaughter charge will be one of the charges, if not the charge, that Eric tries to get taken off. Now, this is the thing. Not only that, this is Derek Chauvin's first offense in his life. So, first offenders. I know y'all might say, well, you know, when black people get placed in jail for their first offense, if it's either a drug offense or gun charge or what have you, that they get the book thrown at them. That is true. But what you got to understand is that Derek Chauvin's white. I'm sorry to say it, but he's white. He was a police officer. Even though that all, you know, his police department and certain other police departments and instructors and what have you spoke against what he did, but I feel like that he'll get no more than 15 years, if not 20, with good behavior shaving off time to his sentence. That's what I feel. So if you guys want to, you know, go against that, then I'd suggest you guys write it in the comment section or the chat section. But this is what you guys got to look at. His sentence will happen in the next 8 weeks. Okay? So what people don't understand, after they heard the verdict, this is what happened.
Every day, let the healing work All three. All three. I'm gonna say it over and over again for the rest of the week. It feels good. One more time. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Listen, there are so many lives that have been.
What in the fuck was that? Y'all, okay, check this out. Check this out. Check this out. Let me do this real fast. Let me put this up here so y'all don't have to see my face directly in the screen, because y'all ain't gonna like this at all. I feel like the celebrations was too fucking early. The man was placed guilty on all 3 charges. Yes, he was. But and it seemed like a monumental achievement from what we usually see when it comes to stuff like that. The only other person we can say that has been placed in jail from their murderous acts, a police officer who's done this and with their murderous acts, is Amber Geiger. Yes, that's one of the only people we can say that was a police officer that has been placed in jail because of what they did. But if it wasn't for the young lady Darnella, what's her name? Darnella Frazier, we would have never seen this. I understand that. We probably would have heard about it, but we probably wouldn't have known it as intimately as we did. Okay? But this is the one thing. I don't know what we are fucking celebrating for. All we know is that the man was placed with all three counts of what he did. But he has yet to be sentenced. We don't know how much time he's gonna do. We don't know where he's gonna be placed at as far as jail goes, because he could be placed in one of those jails that's we hear about, where the Fortune 500 company guys go when they do crimes. They go to a country club, fucking a country club jail where it's all is like the scene at a Goodfellas when they was in jail, where they cooking spaghetti and meatballs and drinking wine and shit for dinner. Like, we don't know where the fuck this man's going. Yes, he was placed with guilty charges, but we don't know how much time he's getting. So why the fuck are we out in the street celebrating so fucking hard over an achievement that we don't even know is going to be celebratable within the next 8 weeks? So y'all might think that I'm going to fuck crazy and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I might and Marcus sounds like he might be on the other side of this, but I'm not. I'm trying to reason with y'all. This is one thing I want to say. Amber Geiger got 12 years, and her time will be shaven down with good with good behavior. So she might only do 5 of the 12. So let's say George Floyd gets 15 to 20 years. Let's say he gets 20. He's probably going to only do out of that 20. He's probably only going to do maybe 9 of that, if good behavior is placed. And not only that, yes, he probably can't be a police officer anymore, but who knows what other type of job that is in a line with some sort of law enforcement, such as maybe he might go and try to be a paramedic. He has the credentials on that with low level paramedic work. Maybe he could go and try to be a paramedic within the city of Minneapolis, maybe somewhere else. So then what? All I'm getting at is that this is his first offense, okay, against him on the books. It's only his first offense against him on the books, okay? And remember, okay, that we have to understand that the law, to understand and what's about to unfold, not saying I understand the law like I said earlier that well, not saying I know it that well, but I was faced one time with charges. Okay, I didn't get off on those charges. It's a summary on me, but I probably would have been brought. I probably would have got all 3 of those counts that was coming against me. Okay, I'm saying that to say this. I didn't do like a heinous crime like he did, but this fool Yeah, he looked sad and shit that his peers sent, sentenced him, but found him guilty or whatever of all three counts. But this is what we have to understand. By us being in the street, by us celebrating as early as we did, and the world seeing it, you gotta remember, the video of him dying went over the world. The trial and the verdict went all around the world. Everybody watched this shit. It was accessible from your phone. I watched at home, and then at work I would listen to it. The rest of it. Okay, I'll take this picture down. I watched the whole entire trial. The only thing I didn't watch was the jury selection because I didn't care. We wasn't gonna see him anyway. It wasn't faces that we could see, who we could thank, whatever. Only one person has came forth, and that was an alternate juror that didn't even really get to have anything to do with his conviction. But his his what was I getting at? Let me look at my notes. So his so there's no bail for him. That's been scrapped. So what I want to further say to drive my point with this celebration shit is that it was the celebration also was seen around the world. Now, it's up to the court now to sentence him. That's in 8 weeks from the day or let's say this week of. So 8 weeks from now has to be May, like the middle of May or the end of. No, I'm sorry. In June, like the beginning to the middle of June, he'll be sentenced. So what you guys now have to do is, if you didn't tune into the trial, I suggest you, with the YouTube channel that I have presented this whole entire time, the Star Tribune. They have every single thing from jury selection all the way up into the verdict. And they also have little snippets of things of certain witnesses said. So you guys can go on a journey, like I went on a journey for these past 4 weeks, and watch every single trial, day of the trial. Okay, you have hundreds of hours to watch, so I suggest you watch it so you can further understand what happened in the case. Because it's not up to me to come up here and tell you guys everything, the play-by-play that happened. I did that out of the love of y'all. I didn't have to, but did it out of the love for my viewers and whatever. But I watched the case. I know a lot of people that I've spoken to when I asked, hey, have you watched the Derek Chauvin case? No, I'm just going to wait until the verdict come out. And then the verdict come out. And I'm like, did you see the verdict? No, but I heard about it. Like, what are you talking? Like, okay. I'm going to end the rant here. How's it that you can celebrate something that happened if you have no attachment to what actually happened? Yes, let's say if you're watching and you went out protesting or looting or whatever that you did, then since it's just like a movie. Once you invest yourself in a movie, let's say Avengers 1, you invested your time with Avengers 1 and you watched Avengers 2, so that means you have to go and see Avengers 3. So the first part of this was Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd. Secondly, what you would have to do after that is listen or watch the trial. Now, what you have to do in June, you have to watch the sentencing if it's aired on TV or on your phone somewhere, on social media somewhere, or what have you. So, if you want to invest your time understanding the law when it comes to the case of what he did. Okay, all of this ties in together. So you have to watch this. It's not I'm a celebrate for celebration's sake. That's not what's supposed to happen. So I'm sorry that if you guys maybe rubbed a certain way about me saying what I said, but hey, I took the time out to do it, which means you can too. All right. Okay, so to lighten this shit up, it took the jury not even 24 hours to come to the verdict because last week the judge told the jury that they should plan for a long deliberation but hope for a short deliberation. But so they had it done after the closing arguments. Well, not done after the closing arguments, but the day after, that Tuesday on the 20th, they had the verdict ready for everybody on Tuesday, which I thought was a little strange because I thought it was going to take longer than that. But I guess they went over all the evidence that they seen that was possible to go over. I guess they spoke on it between each other when they was deliberating the whole thing. But there was the closing arguments, and then once the closing arguments ceased, Eastern time, it was like 5 o'clock or something, like 5 or 6 o'clock. 24 hours after that, not even the verdict was coming out around like 3:30, 4 o'clock on Tuesday, Eastern Standard Time. So, let me see. So this was sort of like the deliberation with the Rodney King trial, which a lot of people have been comparing this trial to that trial. I want to say I was one of the first people to bring that up. It wasn't a lot of people that brought that up. I have seen on various YouTube channels people taking what I have said and saying it in their own little way. They may not think I watch their videos, but I do. I watch your videos. Everything that I have said, you have said on your channel. And this is what I want to say to that, and I want to get off of this. If you're going to give me credit for my words, please say after you're done stating what you say that I heard that from Marcus Speaks Live. Okay? Instead, you just go on and make it as though like it's your point. I understand. With the more followers you have, the better you get your message out. But if your message isn't your own, give the person the credit that they deserve. I've seen what I have said on countless people's Facebook, not Facebook, but YouTube channels. So, yeah, just give me my credit for me sitting down, actually writing my points down, from me watching everything and presenting everything to the public. So just give me my credit. That's all I ask for. All right, yo, I'm almost done. Where am I? Okay, so this is what happened when it came to the verdict. That Monday, that Monday, Joe Biden and Maxine Waters had something to say. So Maxine Waters is part of the House of Representatives. She comes from California, which I think she was, I want to say the LA commissioner or a LA commissioner, I think. So what she had to say with the whole verdict thing is that but before I bring that up, Eric Nelson, the defense attorney for Derek Chauvin, and I brought this up last week, that he asked the judge for the jury to be sequestered. And what that means, if nobody knows, sequestering a jury basically means that they have no outside contact of any sort, and they can't watch outside sources of information that might mess up or encourage their perception of convicting somebody. That's a loose description of what sequestering is. But it should have happened. So I agree with Eric, because we don't know how, if them going home could have affected them, because at the end of every day, the judge would tell the jury, don't watch the news and don't talk to anybody. But in the beginning, he did say that the jury was allowed to tell their immediate family members, basically anybody that lived inside of their house with them. They could tell them what they were doing, but as far as when it came to like a neighbor or other family member that doesn't live within the house with them, they wasn't supposed to tell them what they were doing and how they were doing it and whatever. Or that they was on jury duty at all in a high profile case. So I agree with Eric Nelson with that. But with Maxine Waters, Eric Nelson got a little in his feelings about what she said. And Maxine had this to say. Let me find it in my notes. Thought I had it written down. Oh, okay, here it goes. Maxine Waters said to the protesters that they need to get more active and more confrontational. I don't know what the hell that meant, but Eric Nelson got in his feelings about that, because if anything, with elected officials going against, I guess, the law in their words or whatever, it could have landed the whole entire case to go into a mistrial, because of not only Maxine Waters' words, but Joe Biden's words as well. Now, Joe Biden's words was a little more vague, but it was true what he said. I don't really agree. I don't usually agree with Joe Biden with some of the things that he says. But what he had to say with this, and I'm gonna show it now, he had this to say: systematic racism is a stain on our nation's soul. The knee on the neck of justice for Black Americans. And he had more to say with that, but that's the main snippet that was taken from what he said, which is true. But that was after what he said. But Joe Biden actually said something beforehand, as before the verdict came out as well. But but I'm saying it didn't. Both of what they said didn't really affect the trial as much as what they thought or whatever. But it had enough effect to where Eric Nelson got in his feelings, and he didn't really shout at the judge, but he basically told the judge that this is what we should have done in the beginning, and I don't understand why you didn't think that this was a good idea not to do. So that was that. So another picture that we have to do. I'm almost done. These next couple points should only take like, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so speeches took place after the verdict. So the family gave a speech along with Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, and Jesse Jackson was there. I think other families of other I didn't even share this picture with y'all. With other families of these same acts that has happened to the other people that we know of. So also with them, Keith Ellison, of the lead prosecuting attorney on the case, the guy that you didn't see at all, but it is this gentleman here. Let me get to it. This gentleman here. He was the lead prosecuting attorney. I think he's the lead prosecuting attorney of Minneapolis, Minnesota, not Minneapolis, Minnesota, of Minnesota. So, he, led Jerry and Jerry Blackwell, Stephen Schiller. I forgot the other man's name. That's in my notes somewhere else. Blackwell. Yeah, the other man's name is not in my notes anywhere. But it was the three you saw throughout the whole entire trial, along with I think Amy Voss. I think Amy Voss as well. So I will share I'll share both of the speeches with y'all, each 5 minutes each. Okay, so y'all can get back to what y'all was doing. So here it goes.
I feel relieved today that I finally have the opportunity for hopefully getting some sleep. A lot of days that I prayed and I hoped and I was speaking everything into existence.
That is George Floyd's brother, Felonious Floyd, or Felonious Floyd, I think his name is. That's his little brother. That's George Floyd's little brother.
Said I have faith that he will be convicted. It's been a long journey, and it's been less than a year. And the person that comes to my mind is 1955. And to me, he was the first George Floyd. That was Emmett Till. Wow. Wow. I did was on CNN with Deborah White and she just brought him back to life. People forgot about him.
Yeah.
But he was the first George Floyd. But today, you have the cameras all around the world to see and show what happened to my brother. It was a motion picture. The world seeing his life being extinguished. And I could do nothing but watch. Especially in that courtroom over and over and over again as my brother was murdered. Times, they're getting harder every day. 10 miles away from here, Mr. Wright, Dante Wright.
Yeah.
He should still be here. We have to always understand that we have to march. We will have to do this for life. We have to protest because it seems like this is a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Reverend Al always told me, we got to keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put up a fight every day because I'm not just fighting for George anymore. I'm fighting for everybody around this world.
Yeah.
I get calls, I get DMs, people from Brazil, from Ghana, from Germany, everybody, London, Italy, they're all saying the same thing. We won't be able to breathe until you're able to breathe. Today, we are able to breathe again. Ms. Garner, I told you, we'll get justice. And we're going to fight for you too. We're going to fight for everybody. Thank you all so much for just giving us this time. Because we're here and we're not going anywhere. And I want to thank all the protesters, all the attorneys who stepped up, all the activists who stepped up, and many who think they're not activists but advocates. Thank you all.
Amen.
Because justice for George means freedom for all.
All right.
Oh man, so many emotions right now, but I'm very thankful and grateful. Grateful for the people in this world, for the support, the prayers, the love that was shown. Whether you sent it by social media, or whether you sent it emails or however, we just appreciate the love. I appreciate the team, the Crump Law team. I call him Unc. I call him Unc. We built a bond and relationship through this whole journey. I appreciate him. He would call me. I'm all the way in New York. He'll call me and check up on me and ask me I'm all right because I'm the only one up there. Everybody else is down south. So, but he never thought it robbery to check up on me. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for Reverend Sharpton.
Yeah.
He's been fighting a long time. Long time. Man. Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a lot of history here. History is here. This is monumental. Reverend Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, they lived to see this.
Wow.
Their fight wasn't in vain. It just didn't happen when they did it, but it happened now.
Amen.
And they're here to see it and be proud of it. They go back to when he did that prayer service. My family is a family that will not back down from prayer.
Yes.
And I believe because of prayer, we got the verdict we wanted.
Amen.
All right, so I'll end it there. So real quick, I'm going to go out of this and I'm going to go straight to the next one. So, hold up. And here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone.
My name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. And since the investigation and prosecution of this case began last May, everyone involved has pursued one goal: justice. We pursued justice wherever it led. When I became the lead prosecutor for the case, I asked for time and patience to review the facts, gather evidence, and prosecute for the murder of George Floyd to the fullest extent the law allowed. I want to thank the community for giving us that time and allowing us to do our work. That long, hard, painstaking work has culminated.
So the
today.
three
I would not call today's
attorneys that was
because justice implies true
that actually was doing the
but
case
is
this guy, Steve Schiller. You have Jerry Blackwell here. The black guy. I'm sorry. Steve Schiller is the guy top left. This guy. I don't know if you guys can see my
he was loved by his family, his death shocked
my mouse. And then you have Jerry Blackwater left of what's his name? Ellison. Something Ellison. Derek Ellison.
No way we can turn away from that reality.
Ellison. What's his name? Ellison.
People who stopped
Keith Ellison, sorry. So that's Jerry Blackwater in the back of him to the left. And all the way the top right corner is the other guy that was on the case right here.
A bouquet of humanity. Old, young, men and women. Black and white. A man from the neighborhood just walking to get a drink. A child going to buy a snack with her cousin. An off-duty firefighter on her way to a community garden. Brave young women, teenagers, who press record on their cell phones. Why did they stop? They didn't know George Floyd. They didn't know he had a beautiful family. They didn't know he had been a great athlete. And they didn't know he was a proud father, or that he had people in his life who loved him. They stopped and raised their voices, and they even challenged authority because they saw his humanity. They stopped and they raised their voices because they knew that what they were seeing was wrong. They didn't need to be medical professionals or experts in the use of force. They knew it was wrong, and they were right. These community members, this bouquet of humanity, did it again in this trial. They performed simple yet profound acts of courage. They told the truth, and they told the whole world the truth about what they saw. They were vindicated by the chief of police, by Minneapolis' longest-serving police officer, and by many other police officers who stepped up and testified as to what they saw and to what they knew. What happened on that street was wrong. We owe it, and we owe our gratitude to fulfilling we owe them our gratitude for fulfilling their civic duty and for their courage in telling the truth. To countless people in Minnesota and across the United States who join them in peacefully demanding justice for George Floyd, we say, all of us, thank you.
All right, I'll stop it there. You guys can watch all of this that I have presented to y'all within the past 4 weeks of me covering this. You can watch all of this on the Star Tribune. They have everything. And countless other media outlets, but I'm only talking about Star Tribune for the simple fact that those are the people. That's the channel that I've personally used all of these videos on. So, what I want to get into last, and then I'll get you guys out of here, is this law that they want to pass. It's called the I'm sorry. It is called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and it was presented in 2020. And it outlines. I'm only going to read the summary of it. You guys can go on. I should have wrote down the website where I found it on, but I'm pretty sure you guys can go on to I think House of Representatives.gov or something like that and look up all this stuff. So the summary is that it lowers the criminal intent standard from willfulness to knowing or reckless to convict a law enforcement officer for misconduct in a federal prosecution. And also, it limits qualified immunity as a defense to liability in a private civil action against law enforcement officers or state correctional officers. And authorities, in authorities, the Department of Justice to issue subpoenas and investigations of police departments for a pattern of practice of discrimination. So the outline is basically that cops won't be able to get off of charges of heinous acts such as pulling their gun and shooting somebody if it isn't a clean shooting. And everybody might find this a little controversial of me saying, but the Ohio shooting of the little girl in a police's stance was a clean shooting. For the simple fact is that the police officer took Ma'Khia Bryant's life, to save the life of the little girl, that she was going to stab with that knife she had. That's a clean shooting. So there won't be any sort, in my personal opinion, there shouldn't be any sort of legal action that should happen. But, all of the stuff that's happening with that, he might get in trouble for that. So, whatever. But, if you want to look this up, the number for this is HR H.R. 712 0. So H.R. 7120 is, I think, the docket number when it comes to this law. If you guys want to read through the entire thing, it's, I think, a couple hundred pages long. If you want to read that, but this law will, if it gets signed, because it's been through the House of Representatives, they all signed it. The Black Caucus, they signed it, because I think it was the Black Caucus that came up with it. But the House of Representatives in all, I think they presented this to the Senate. It's up to the Senate to vote on this and to sign and vote. Well, vote and then sign on this, so it can get to Joe Biden for him to sign. This is what you guys should be looking at when it comes to him. Joe Biden talking about this case. It's what you should be asking is, has it been passed through the Senate and has it made it to your desk yet? So this is what y'all should be looking at when it comes to this whole case. And if some sort of police reform is going to happen with this, because if not, then it's going to be the same old what we've been going through for the past few centuries. So Yeah. But that's all I really had to say to y'all today when it comes to the case. So if y'all could subscribe if you haven't already done so. This is Marcus Speaks, man. Just, if you like what you're watching, subscribe and then tell a friend so they can share it. Make sure everybody that you tell likes the video. And then if you catch a live, hit the live chat, man. Talk to me. I want to hear what you have to say. I am streaming not only on YouTube, I'm also streaming this onto Facebook. And my social medias are on Instagram at marcus.speaks.podcast, all lowercase. And then you have Facebook. Marcus Speaks is the personal page. And then the Facebook group page is Marcus Speaks Podcast as well. So if you guys can look that up and, join the group. I usually post like 2 to 3 times a week. So, or if you have any show ideas, put them in the comment section of any video that you've watched, and I'll get that notification and it'll come right over to me, and I'll see what I can do with whatever your suggestion is. On Fridays, I do Marcus Speaks Play. It's me playing all my favorite games and a selective few of new releases. That's at 6:30 on Fridays. Do it every Friday. And then Marcus Speaks Live, the podcast, happens on Saturday at 6:30. Except for today, because I was doing some shopping and shit like that, but whatever. Don't be shy to hit the comment section, y'all. Don't be shy, okay? I won't bite. The only thing I ask for is that you be respectful to me and respectful to anybody else that's in the live chat or who's commenting. That's the only thing that I really ask you guys for, is just to be respectful. And that's really it for today. I didn't really have much to speak on today other than the closing arguments and the verdict and how I felt about everything that was happening. So, with that being said, I would just like to tell you guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next Friday on Marcus Speaks Play. 6:30. Do not be late, because I won't be. But next week, I will be here on time at 6:30. So thanks for watching today, and I'll see you guys next Friday. All right? Y'all be good.